Hello everyone, it's your girl Blissful Gia. If you are new to my channel, I want to thank you for taking the time to explore this page. On this page, we talk about dreams, mental health, and just life experiences. If you are a returning subscriber, I thank you for returning. I'm trying something different because my goal this year is to be consistent with my content, and that means thinking smart. So I figured instead of making time to record instead of the camera, this is the best way to start with my consistency. That being said, let's get into today's topic of discussion, which is a star is born, and that star being me. We are going to be talking about following our dreams, giving ourselves permission to exist, navigating the financial expenses that come with following your dreams, along with the jealousy, the self-doubt, the self-rejection. From big dreams to budget, this is the unfiltered truth about my music journey as Blissful Gia. Now, I know someone out there roll their eyes when I refer to myself as a star, but the truth is we are all born as stars. We all have metaphorical gifts and talents that make us outstanding individual, praiseworthy, trailblazer. Whereas being a celebrity just means you're globally known and you're backed by a corporation. We're all born with gifts and talents, and the sad thing about being born with those gifts and talent is that society is not designed for us all to flourish within our gifts and talent. So let me open up about how I got started into music. Music and being an artist has always been embedded in me. I feel like I was born this way for the simple fact, as early as I can remember, my mother used to dance and sing at home. We used to have the classic videos of all the professional dancers and the musician that would go from Paris to all over the world just dancing. And being African means dancing. It means moving your hips. So I've always been a musician. From when I would go to weddings with my parents, we would get in the dance circle because at African parties, when we celebrate, we have money next to us to throw around. And baby, I used to dance. So that's how it got started. And then into high school, I was in choir. I learned how to play the flute. So I was just always been in the art world. So being an artist has just been in my DNA. If you know me, my last name is a form of the poem. So it's just like being a writer, being an artist has always been in me. Now, what led me to actually going to the damn studio and recording? It was actually Chris Brown, the Indigo tour, the Indigo album. He has so many ad-libs, so many layers of vocal. Like, that album is immaculate. And I remember listening to the whole thing and just being so curious. Like, how did he do this part? How did he do that part? How did he do his runs? I was so curious. And I just booked a studio session one day. And from there on, Blissful Gia was birthed. And it was fun. It was a fun ride. And what really inspired my sound, being African, but there was conflict in deciding what sound to produce because I didn't feel like I was American enough or understood the history of R&B to dibble and dabble in that venture. So I kind of stood to something comfortable that I grew up with and was more of a comfort, which was Afrobeat. I loved the entire time I did music. And right now, just looking back at all of the work I've done, I'm proud of myself because I did something that most people I know would not allow themselves to do, which is to create and give themselves permission to be their own self. And what I want everyone to take away from this podcast really is the purpose and the goal of being an artist is to create so you release You are to release that pain, that joy, that excitement. With music, there's so many ways you can say one thing. The cadence, the delivery, the enunciation. It's lyrical art, literally. Words with art, linguistics. So that's what produced my sound, right? Let's get to the messy, nitty-gritty. The production cost. If you see my content and know me in person, you know that I like high quality things. It's never about the quantity, but more so the quality. So I like to invest into good material, good project, sound, videographer. But I realized in my journey as an artist, people try to take advantage of my perfectionist personality, nature, if you can say. They would upcharge me certain prices on things that I kind of figure was not the right price. But, when you're an independent artist, an up-and-coming artist, you're basically kissing everybody's ass. Don't nobody know you. Don't nobody gives a fuck about what you're doing until you make motion. And to make motion, you need to let your work speak for itself. So we went into production costs, videography, studio time, hair and makeup. Everything just adds up quickly. And it does become expensive if quality becomes your forte. Jealousy in the industry. I had a hard time coming to terms with sensing jealousy, which was mainly from people I've known. People would do weird things to me and I would peep it. And my defense mechanism is if the vibe gets weird, if respect is no longer on the table, I remove myself. And when you are talented and confident and humble, you're just going to make people jealous. There's nothing you can do about it, right? But do not let other people's jealousy make you feel like something is wrong with you. Your gifts and talents are yours. You earned them. You worked on them to craft them. And we were all born with something from God. And it took me a hard time to really give myself permission to be confident in my art, in my delivery, in standing in the room and taking up space. Because in this music industry, you're around a lot of men. And surprisingly, a lot of my haters were men. And to this day are still men. Men that lacked substance, that lacked direction, that lacked creativity, that lacked input and suggestions. Most of the guys in the music industry are ego-driven and just want to say they are a musician to bag some check. Mind you, whole time their music is trash, their visual is trash, their marketing is trash, their spirit is trash. But they don't care about that. Where I am now with music is I'm taking my time. Because the truth of the matter is, at one point I felt that music was taken away from me. And I had to choose between life and art. Cost of living, realistic obligations, bills. Am I going to eat or go to the studio? And I think the hardest part for me with putting my music to rest was I know how good I am. But you can't just be good. Being good is never good enough in terms of careers. It's who you know, it's luck, it's the opportunity. And for me, I'm a realistic person. I look at the end results and every details in between to decide when to invest into something and when to pull out. And I was going through a personal hard time in life where I had to divert my focus to motherhood, to my mental well-being. So I just had to put music on pause. And then once it was on pause, like I wanted to go back to it. People were trying to get me to go back to it. But it was just like, what for? Of course, if I'm not in the booth, nobody's eating. The videographer, the photographer, the producers, the engineer. So I felt like sitting it out was the best thing and the saddest thing for me, because I had to get back to my real life. I had to be realistic with myself. And being realistic with myself is asking myself those hard questions. Do you think you're going to quote unquote make it within the next 3 to 5 years? Do you want to spend $1,000, $2,000 on your next music video? Or do you want to go on a nice vacation with your kid? It was a lot of head over heart decision. Over heart decision also comes with asking yourself some hard question. Do you really think you're talented? What are you willing to do for fame to quote unquote make it? Are you going to feel like a failure if you put this down and decide to walk away? Or are you going to keep going on because you want to prove so and so wrong? It was harder to ask myself those questions than it was to answer them, because answering them was easy. It was easier for me to choose to want to live again rather than trying to prove my artistic value to people that couldn't do what I do if they were paid to do it. And I want to sum this up with saying, please give yourself permission to be artistic. And when you do, make the focus on just wanting to create, to release the expression of creating. Don't get focused on approval or who's watching, because trust me, people are watching. People are watching, and when you become better and better, you'll peep it. You'll peep it. Energy does not lie at all. So I hope this gives people a little insight into my music life, my music journey. A lot of this is surface level, just scratching the surface. But I think other artists out there can learn from me and learn from the journey. And kudos to those that have a team. I did a lot of my projects 100% by myself with no team. All me funding everything. And to that, I am proud of myself. I am Blissful Gia, and thank you for choosing to be with a star today. If you like this podcast, it resonates with you, please go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe, and be back next week for another amazing think piece. Thank you for tuning in. I am Blissful Gia. Run and tell that.